And here we go. Hi, everyone. We are back with another panel debate, and this time we hopefully have our yes cabs on, because at least we have one Make America Great Again cab on, because last time a couple of you guys were commenting, including these two, that, oh my, that's a negative panel, and everyone's like, it's all bad. So today we're going to be positive about the Americans.
Which makes a change for me. I'm not normally very positive about Americans, no offense, but
Ouch.
Well, I think I would like to say more or less we're going to be positive about the American Army book for Bolt Action version 3, but we're also going to be realistic in a lot of our comments. They're going to be fact-led, tried and tested-led comments. But something I thought of quite a bit about what we're going to say in this video for Bo and his audience, that everything we're going to talk about still depends on player skill, player ability, player knowledge, and for each of us individually, how we're guided by our own experiences. A term that I'm sure Bo will use or has used is local meta. So we can only ever feedback that. But I will say that between myself and Russell, our local meta is the United Kingdom. So it's not like we're playing in a fishbowl. We're playing in quite a big, open, open market, for lack of a better term. So please take our commentary with that caveat beforehand.
And hopefully both of these guys will crop up in the comments if you guys have questions about what's being said today. I did try last time to cover as many of the comments as I could, but I am not the American expert, so yeah. Anywho, I reused the PowerPoint so that we have something to talk out from, and I will just do a little bit of sharing for that. So hopefully you can see my PowerPoint right now.
There it is, yeah.
There it is.
Right.
Oh, that's a nice picture you've added there, Bo.
Oh, wonder where it's from.
Yeah, that's a little one of my shelves of Americans. People generally associate me, I think, with Japanese and Gurkhas, but I do play Americans quite a lot as well. And I've got several shelves of them because I love them as an army and the theme on them and the units, and so there's a lot I think going for them, which we're very happy to discuss today.
So we are going to start with the HQ units. Last panel debate sort of had the feeling that they were more or less same as every other army, or potentially you could go all air power, as I know some of you have done, with a bunch of air observers. How do you feel about the HQ selection for the Americans? Can we start with Ali?
Well, on the face of it, they've got the same generic options as every other army. There's platoon commanders, there's company commanders, there's the different observer types, medics, etc. And again, similar to all the other armies that we're getting now in version 3, they get to be flavoured. So for America, Rangers, Marines, what's the other one? Airborne. That's
Airborne.
Yeah, and again, all other nations can do that. The point of difference comes, though, with the air observer. The air observer gets to fire twice. And the same as those other HQ options, you can make him airborne, marine, or ranger. So again, you are tailoring to fit. So I don't have any great issues with the HQ availability for the Americans, but the main point of difference from every other nation, double shot air observer.
Yeah.
Which I am supportive of.
Yeah. What about you, Russell? You have also run the air observers, haven't you?
I've run them, yeah. Me and Al have discussed use of them, and we've been quite successful with them, and we can get into that at some point. What I would add, though, for me, it's not just the air observers, actually. The unit options do look very similar, but when you start synergizing them with your other options, like Rangers lead the way, or even the Marines, you can create units that don't exist in any other list.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with the Rangers. I can put a Ranger leads away and a veteran officer, and immediately I've got an officer on the field if I need him on the battlefield. And there are certain missions where that's quite beneficial. The other thing I can do is, and this is where I get very tricksy, but you can, in theory, take a Ranger officer team and stick them on cavalry if you take a cavalry unit, such as Philippine Scouts. So you've now got a Rangers lead the way unit that is running 18 inches onto a table. There are certain missions where you cannot infiltrate, or you cannot infiltrate within a certain distance. Well, this Ranger on a horse doesn't care. So it's an expensive trick. It's not historical at all, but it's another flavour that you can't do with other lists. And just to make that worse, I've recently been playing with motorbikes. So if I take a recce platoon, I can stick my US military police on 4 motorbikes relatively cheaply. I'm now putting my US Army Rangers on motorbikes if I want, and now I'm moving 24 inches all over the table before you. So that's something no one's really playing with. It's a bit silly. I get that. It's not thematic, but it's a very big difference to what some other lists can do. That you can play around and do that. And just I would then on the air observers just reiterate what Al said. The other thing I've been doing with air observers is sometimes putting them on motorbikes. A single air observer on a motorbike is quite weird, because if you've got a set, generally speaking, I think me and Al both believe you need a 3-man team for your air observers, or they won't survive. And if they don't survive, what's the point in having them? So I think you need to do that. But I have been experimenting with the idea that one of my air observers, if I've got 3 of them, is going on a bike. Because he'll go at the back, and my opponents, generally speaking, don't want to fire at him because they know he's just going to wreck you away. So as a result, quite often, the last dice out, which is when you want to call your airstrikes in anyway, they should be your last use of your dice, in my opinion. Actually, you might suddenly have a guy on a bike who's able to call in an airstrike and then run away next turn. So there's more going on there. And then the actual HQ unit, if you make it a Marine unit, you can get it up to, I think it's 7 men. So you can create quite a strong infantry section with its own integrated HQ. And the other benefit of that is, one of the complaints about the Americans is they have a restricted access to SMGs.
But you don't in the HQ section. You can take all you want.
Exactly. So you can take 70 regular. You can take a regular HQ unit, 7 men, give them all SMGs, and they've got their own integrated HQ to give them a +2. So they're arriving on the table. As long as they don't foobar, they're coming on the table. So there are a lot of other options in there, and we've only had the book for 6 months. So we're still playing with it. There'll be other stuff we find, but I think in that first 5 minutes, we've already flagged that actually the US HQs have a lot more stuff going on.
Right. Okay. So that sort of covers HQs. Let's move on to the infantry. Is it bland and boring, or are we? Where are we with the infantry section? Let's start with you, Al, on this one.
There is vanilla in there, and we have to accept that. But we have to accept that that's true of all books. But then you get to knuckle down into the more unique ones now. Rangers have been spoken about already. I'm a big fan of the Ranger units. I know that they can now be replicated to a lesser extent through the Soviets, but that Soviet option, that's just like a patch or a backfill to fix a previous problem with their book. The other thing you've got is the Merrill's Marauders that are in there. I think they've been overlooked by by all of us at the moment. They're expensive, but they come with a full package of special rules. The military police are a good support unit. I have ran the INR squads. I think they are, again, they are low cost. It helps you free up the other options within different platoons. And I think to that point, I think that's where my own personal experience ends. I've not had to explore any other infantry squads or infantry units, because the Rangers, the police, and the INR squads have filled the needs of the specific build and army build types that I've enjoyed. So I'll turn the floor over to Russell to discuss this one a little bit more.
Because Russell, you've run some quite interesting units, haven't you?
Yeah, I've had to play around with a lot of different infantry units to see how they work. I agree the Marauders are good, but people are not looking at them. And one of the reasons the Marauders are good is because of their kit options.
Yeah.
And what they do with it. I do agree armoured troops are not as effective as the German ones because of the SMG issues on them and the minimum of 6 men. But they're still a viable unit. The other thing that is being ignored a bit is because people are so used to the old fire and manoeuvre version 2 rule, they're overlooking that the American rifle rule is not bad. So especially if you go a completely different way, you can take 12 inexperienced American infantry for 84 points, and they're going to be putting out 16 shots for 84 points. That doesn't sound too bad to me, especially if you've got a company commander around to make sure they follow instructions. There's a couple of other units as well. So just I was looking at the old book. So this is the old version 2 book there.
Yeah.
And so it's 80 pages, and there's about 8 infantry options in it. Whereas the new one comes in at 110, and I think it's got 18 infantry options.
Wow.
So, okay, I know we want our campaign units, but we'll have to wait for them. In the meantime, it's not bad. So some of the other units, like the airborne glider LMG team. So I can take a 4-man unit, strap an LMG in it for 55 points, which means now I've got something with 36 inches range that's a back holder for 55 points. If you want to do that with Germans, it's 65 points, and they get an extra shot and they got an extra body. But in terms of efficiently allocating LMGs, that's not a bad unit to use. Bar stacking as well. I know using BARs, bars is not a thing at the moment because of the ridiculous decision not to include them in the fire and manoeuvre. So I do understand that, but they're much better than people say, in my opinion. So I'm paying 6 points. I get an extra shot. Okay, that's maybe worth 3-4 points, but I just moved my range out to 30 inches. So if I'm in a gunfight with anything up that doesn't have LMGs, I'm in range earlier than you, and I'm putting pins on you before you can actually fire at me.
Yeah.
And that's got a value that I think's been ignored a bit. So. Yeah, that for me just means there are other options there. The Marines are interesting. I'm sure there's stuff we can do. The idea you can take inexperienced Marines is just quite interesting. I would like more access to SMGs, but we all would. But you know what? If you can't get an SMG and you decide to take Marines or Marauders or other, you can get shotguns. I think shotguns are now actually quite interesting because for 2 points, I'm getting tough fighter. And I'm getting no -1 when I fire because they're assault weapons now. So all of a sudden, if I can't, I'd rather have an SMG for 4 points. But you know what? A shotgun for 2 points, no one's running them. But I think they're quite interesting. So there's lots of toys there we still need to play with to understand how they're going to work.
Apropos toys, how do you guys feel about the lack of LMGs in the American army?
Well, that's historically pretty correct. So I don't have a problem with it. And as I just said, if you want them, you can get them for an airborne glider team for 55 points. So, yeah, there you go. You've got it. You've got a unit that can do it for you. So have that. But the Americans have a much better option than an LMG or an MMG. And I think we'll probably be discussing that later.
Yeah.
Al, would you agree with that? Or?
I agree. The lack of LMGs has not impacted my enjoyment or success with the US Army, so the US Army book. So no, and I don't actually have any LMGs modelled, and I've played through version 1 and version 2 and now into version 3 for the US, just because that wasn't part of their doctrine in terms of how they played. You know, the downfall that Russell's highlighted, the BAR not being included in fire and manoeuvre. Yep, I'm not going to labour the point. But I still use BARs for, again, the same point that Russell raised. It pushes your threat range out. And so when you combine that for myself with Rangers, Rangers lead the way. You can start shooting small arms from turn 1 onwards if you've got BARs.
It's especially in a meta where people seem to be obsessed with light mortars at the moment, particularly inexperienced light mortars. Rangers with bars are just hilarious when they run into light mortars. It's like, bye. So there's definitely some play to be had there with them. Yeah.
So infantry, bland and boring?
Nah.
No.
There's vanilla. There's vanilla there, but there's plenty of excitement as well, and untapped excitement.
Exactly.
Also, just going off the picture here of one of Russell's armies, there are some cavalry on this picture. I can see, Russell.
There is a cavalry option if you want it through Philippine Scouts.
Yeah.
So you can even get cavalry in a US Army. And no one's really done it. The models are out there to be purchased if you want them, and it's just another twist. Am I likely to be using them a lot? No, not really. But I'm trying things out and I'm having fun with the Americans and seeing what they can do that's different. So even Americans can run cavalry. It's a bit crazy, but there you go.
Yeah, right. That brings us to the vehicle section. So is that like spam all the HMGs you can and then you're winning tournaments, or what are we doing? Let's start with Russell this time.
Well, you said the vehicles, again, there are lots of different ways of playing the Americans here, which is interesting for me. They've got access to some pretty decent kit. Now, I do agree, your previous conversation, that the armoured cars are not really up to much. I get that, but they do look cool. So there is that as well. But the Sherman's a pretty decent piece of kit. And there wasn't any discussion really of the Sherman other than it as a regular unit. So, but you can stick gyroscopes on a veteran version if you want to go that way. Roll it on with a heavy howitzer. And it's just whacking stuff straight away, 50-50 on its shots, on a light, heavy or medium howitzer, depending on the version you take. Or what I've been running and finding quite successful is taking inexperienced tanks, American inexperienced tanks. Okay, they don't hit a lot on when they move, but when you suddenly realise it's at point blank the next turn, and it's got the +2, and it was 40 odd points cheaper. So I've now got a lot more other. So I've got 3 of them instead of 2. Or that's quite an interesting, fun way to play. And as for the Chaffee and the fact that it can run 24 inches, you can use it as a chariot. So forget HMGs.
Yeah.
You should paint chariot wheels on it, and you can just charge artillery pieces and pivot and hit another one. And as long as you've pinned them first, and they just scatter everywhere. So that's hard to pull off, but it's fun. And then you mention HMG spam, and that is definitely a thing that the Americans do. Well, no one else can do it. They're the only army that does it, and they do it so well. And the HMG, for me, in version 3, this might be a slightly controversial view, but given the meta we're seeing, I would much rather have HMGs than any mix of like autocannons or anti-tank rifles or bazookas or pit. Give me HMGs every time.
Wow.
Maybe we get into the tactics on that a bit later, but the Recce Jeep is just god level. I don't think it was even mentioned in the last chat.
It was not.
But that vehicle is incredible, absolutely incredible. If you haven't played a game using them yet, go and have some fun. Go and buy a few and have some fun. I'll stop. I could go on for ages, so I'm going to stop there and pass over to Al, who I know more on this subject than me.
I'll throw in some commentary on the HMG first. HMGs, but not on armoured vehicles. So when you're paying the premium points to put them onto Shermans or whatever the hell else they can go onto, pintle mount on a tank, don't put your points there. Invest your points in the Recce Jeep. But also, this is where you start to take the Recce platoon and you take your 3/4 ton Dodge truck. So they've got the A-man capacity. You buy them Recce and you give them the Pintle HMG so that they are quickly moving around the table with infantry threat inside, and they've also got the Pintle HMG inside. That for me is tried and tested. You know, it's a recce transport that's wheeled and, you know, fast moving, and it's got a credible weapon.
Yeah.
And that credible weapon, when there should be an officer, you know, or the officer squads that Russell's spoken about, if there's an officer squad in there of 6 men plus a bazooka team, and you've got the Pintle HMG, you're a credible threat to side armour of enemy vehicles, regardless of what they are, transports, softskins, fully armoured tanks, etc. Going away from the HMG transport softskin option, the picture that Bo's got up, that is my all-veteran, low-order dice ranger list with 3 veteran Shermans, tooled up veteran Shermans. I can't remember how many points they are. But once you are veteran, you start to ignore all the small pins from enemy HMGs, enemy light autocannons, anti-tank rifles. That all just melts away. And once you throw these veteran vehicles forward in support of fast-moving infantry, your opposition, it truly does melt away. So I think the US vehicle options are all fantastic, except armoured cars. Who cares? You don't need them. You've invested points in the high end scale of veteran armoured vehicles, and then the low end scale of softskins carrying your HMGs. Because if you think about it, how much is what is it for the Germans? Like a 250/9 is what, 90 points, 100 points. It's got a light autocannon, Recce, armor 7, open topped, or you could get 2 3/4 ton Dodge trucks with HMGs and Recce for I think about 104 points. So you've got 2 flexible transports for roughly the same cost as 1 armored car for your opposition.
What you can do there as well, Al, if you've got an artillery platoon, you can take an M4, M5G, tractor for 15 points, and you can stick a HMG on it, and you've got a unit with a HMG for 45 points.
Yeah,
that's another way you can do it. And just on the transports, that Al is completely right about the M2s and the M3s. You've got one of them 68 points with a heavy machine gun with wheels. So you take one of those, and then maybe your other one, you take the tracked version for 70 points with a HMG, and then you look at the terrain you're playing, and you go, right, I need this one to flank on the left, because that's where the open areas are for the wheels. This one can come in here where the ruins are, but you can use them like a Swiss Army knife and pick how you want to use them.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Russell, I was just going to pick off you've got the open-topped tank destroyers,
yes.
Hellcat. I still don't rate them, I'm sorry to say. That open-topped, low armor, granted they're now fast. Yes, they carry the big mega weapon.
I'm with you. I'm not a fan of. I don't like the open top issue with them. Although it's less of an issue than it used to be in some ways, because regular vehicles get pinned by anything with AP now, and it's very hit and miss. You know, if that thing, it's fantastic, looks great on paper. Oh, I've just rolled a 3, I've missed. Oh, I've rolled a 4, I've missed. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan, but they're still fun to play with when they work. The vehicle, the other one we could mention, is the M3 Lee. Because it is, to my knowledge, it's the only tank out there that's got 2 anti-tank weapons on it. So it's double shooting.
There might be some very early land ship like tanks for the Soviets that may have.
Not with anti-tank guns that I know of.
Yeah.
I think the howitzer on.
Yeah,
but you could be
true.
right there, but I'll have to check the book. But that thing there, it's got a light and a medium. So normally, if you're hitting on a 4, it's 50-50. If you've got 2 of them, you've got a 75% chance of hitting something, and you can split the fire. And the other thing it gets, which all the Americans get, or the later mid-American tanks, is if I've got a medium anti-tank gun, my HE template isn't 1, it's 2.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more flexible as a weapons option than a lot of the other medium anti-tank guns out there.
The only
Yeah.
disappointing thing with that is, though, the 2-inch template still only does D2 pins.
Yeah, that's a real shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, when really it should be more.
I agree with that completely.
One thing that a lot of people have been talking about with this American book is the MGMCs, the half tracks that are bristling with machine guns and with autocannons. You guys are not mentioning those. Don't you rate them at all?
I hugely rate. I'm going to say very quickly and get on to Al. I hugely rate them. I know people who use them incredibly well, but you have to be a good player to make them work, because they are really fragile. The reason I tend not to use them has been because I like airstrikes. So they just do not synergize with an airstrike army in the way that you can. You can manage HMGs around airstrike armies, no problem. Those things you cannot. Sorry, over to Al. That's my 2 pence.
What's the name of the unit again?
So we're looking at the MG13s, the MG
14s and 15s, I think. Yeah.
It's got the twin heavy machine guns and the autocannon in the middle.
Yeah.
Well, straight up, you know what the problem is? They just don't kill enough. It's not got enough killing ability. The heavy autocannon.
Not against armor, but I have seen them completely chopped to pieces, like even vet infantry units.
Yeah.
So as infantry killers, I know with Gary Morgan, who runs them, I'm pretty certain that's how he uses them. They are there to be meat choppers. I think that's their nickname. The M16, it's got 4 HMGs on it. So it's putting out 12 shots, 12 heavy machine gun shots. It's expensive, 125 points. You got a quad 50, which is put out 4 HMG shots as well. Arm 6, that'll save you 20 points if you want to go with that. The M15, 1 heavy automatic cannon and 2 heavy machine guns for 125. Again, armor 7. If you like heavy autocannons, I'm not a huge fan, but they're very popular with people.
Oh yeah, I love them.
How many units out there can load up 2 HMGs with a range of 48, a heavy anti-automatic cannon? That is going to rip their infantry to pieces. You just got to use it carefully. So those units they're out there. Let's play them. Let's find out what they can do. Certain people are.
Well, the thing is, though, for those particular units, they are out there and they were tried and tested in version 2 a lot. You know, I've played against them a lot, but you don't see them as a recurring choice at the moment. I think that's predominantly down to only being able to shoot the small templates against infantry, as opposed to the armor piercing shots and cover saves. Just there comes a point where you can throw more dice at units, but the cover saves just make it all fade away. And I'm not against that. I just don't. I'm not rushing out to buy these units.
They're not top of your
particular ones. They're not top of my shopping list.
No.
And again, though, that might just be coming down to my own playstyle. I don't like the fragility of them. I'm talking about fully enclosed veteran tanks here. They're fantastic. But then I slide right back down to the bottom of the scale with soft skins and make sure I've got quite a few of them to absorb losses. But when you're in that middle ground, that's why I don't like the tank hunters that are armor 7 open topped. They just, when something small fires back at them, a heavy machine gun fires back at them, then they go. An anti-tank rifle will take them out. They will go with this bonus now for when you get shot at close range by armor piercing weapons. All these 7+ things they go. So,
agreed.
And that's why I don't want to invest points or painting time in them at the moment.
With that said, I would just add though that the current, and he is the current British national champion, Gary Morgan, he uses them. So if we're looking at what other people are doing, and also the Spanish, they use them. So I noticed that they brought one. So they have like a toolbox, and they've clearly identified that this is a tool they want. I'm with Al. It doesn't suit the way I play, but you know what? I'm definitely going to be trying them out at some point because I think it's fun as well when you hit something with 12 heavy machine gun shots. Good luck managing that. Or with the autocannons. I'm not a huge fan of autocannons, as I say, in my style, but definitely going to try them. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to play these things and find out.
Right. Okay. So moving on to artillery, is there anything good here, or are we just like picking up a multi-rocket launcher and that's it?
I'll lead off in this. My playstyle is just completely ignores this section altogether. Version 3 is about movement. You know, out with, you know, tank wars. Is it a tank game? Is it an infantry game? It is now about movement. So having any form of artillery piece that ties you down. I am glad I didn't invest a lot in artillery for any of my US armies in version 1 and version 2, just because it means I don't have that many models sitting on the shelf that I don't use anymore. The multi-launcher, whatever version of the rules you want to play, or whatever version of the FAQ you want to play, just leave them at home. They're just order dice that you're going to lose so quickly. You know, you think about the things we've spoken about already. Rangers with BARs that will be within 24 inches of you on turn 1, you'll lose them. You'll lose them because, you know, you'll take them in experience, or you'll take them regular. You're investing too many points at that point. You can only really get them into cover during a prepared positions mission, which is great because if you're in a prepared position, I know exactly where you are, so I will go over and kill you. Or then if you have to walk them on in a meeting engagement, then you're not going to have the optimal, you know, firing solution or firing targets. And yes, you can use spotters for them, but you can testify, you know, as you're all TOs, both of you, you know, at your events. Are multi-launchers arriving? No, they're not. For myself, I TO'd the Scottish Nationals this year. Oh, sorry, I didn't. I organised the Scottish Nationals this year. I TO'd the Megatron 3000, and I could count the number of multi-launchers from both events on one hand with fingers to spare.
The only thing is that if we look at last year's WTC, the German team had multi-launchers in every single one of their lists, and they won.
Good on them. I don't see anybody from Team Germany on this video, Bo. It's myself and Russell's opinion. So,
I will try and put the counter argument to some extent for it. I'm not a fan of them personally. That's partly just playing style. I don't like the randomness of them. I just don't really like them. But with that said, what you can do that's quite fun, and I'm messing around with on a thematic list, is I've got 2 air observers in the list because it's based on Tadawa, so it's like a beach landing with military support. So you've got 2 air observers, and I've got 2 regular rocket launchers. Now those rocket launchers can be tucked away, hidden somewhere, and they're just using the air observers as their spotters. And so you can randomly scatter rocket. I don't know if it'll work or not, but it sounds like it might be a bit of fun. So you can randomly scatter stuff all over the place. Combined with the aircraft, your opponent's sitting there thinking, I need to just scatter everything out. So it's in penny packets. So we'll see what that does. So as you said, the Germans did make it work at WTC. It's gone away a bit. Well, I think one of the other problems with rocket launches is there's just so many different rules adjustments going on. How many times has it been FAQ'd now? I've lost count. I'll be honest.
Sure, it's 3.
4 or 5.
It's something ridiculous, like 3. Yeah. They know they had a problem with them, and every time they brought in a new fix, it created another problem. Like they fixed it and then allowed them to use spotters. It's like, what are you doing? You know, if you're gonna give them spotters, or I don't know, but they're an interesting unit that's not actually been used enough, and I think it's partly all 3 of us don't like them.
Yeah.
So we don't want people to use them.
True.
Because it's a bit boring, isn't it? When you play someone who's got 3 or 4 Nebelwerfers and they snap their action, and it's very hard to set up. So I agree with Al there. If you take that to a tournament, you're not winning the tournament. I don't think so. you're going to run into a couple of missions where it just doesn't work. But you will also run into a mission where you are going to completely table someone, and so they're very randomly destroying good players, which actually is quite funny, really, that it can happen.
To scoop up the rest of the artillery section, though, light, medium, and heavy artillery pieces are all out of favour. So let's just ignore that. You've got the recoilless artillery. It's just the light howitzer.
It's meaningless. Yeah, make it do something different.
Then, for the Americans, you've got all your different AA guns on different mounts. The Americans have also got them all mounted on vehicles. So if you are going to take it, be mobile. We've just discussed the different motor gun carriages. Then there are the anti-tank guns, artillery pieces. It could be a whole other debate on whether a light, medium, or heavy anti-tank gun actually works. But for what we're talking about here, for the Americans, we don't take them. We don't take them because you can get them on vehicles and you can move them to different firing positions. And then
so is the problem really that your infantry is moving up and your guns are sitting back and now you are in front of your guns? Is that the problem?
Well, it's not even about line of sight. It's about what version 3 is as a game. It is about mobility. Anything that sits still is just an easy target to be destroyed, scooped up, order ice in the bag, or order ice on the kill tray, thanks very much, and move on. People talk about, you can deploy these things to close down lanes, lock out parts of the board. Right, lock out a part of the board. If I've got a fully mobile army, I will just circumvent it and scoop up the rest of your army on the way. These terms to me just don't mean anything. If there's an anti-tank gun in a building somewhere, great, but it can't see the entire board. And that's that. But there is another little nugget though, where the American Army book falls down compared to, I think, just the German book. If you really wanted to take light artillery pieces, you can get them fieldcraft in Germany through the mountain troops. And so you can have light artillery pieces. You can have light autocannons. I think I'll point it out. It's like whatever it is, 54 or 57 points for a veteran light artillery piece that you can then move through, rough ground and
terrain,
cover, and making it just makes it a better option. It makes it an option that you would think about for Germany. So the artillery section in the American book for me is there, but I just skip past it.
Right. And just finally on that is a version 3 issue, not a US issue on artillery. Absolutely. The one thing you can do though, Al, if you're going to go veteran artillery, you can make a light or medium a ranger veteran unit, and so you can actually get it on the board in missions and set it up. Not very well. I wouldn't bother doing it because I agree with you, it's a waste of time, but it's quite a funny thing if you do want to get your shots in straight away.
If you could do it and give it fieldcraft, you would see it.
Good.
But no, so the artillery section, and as Russell said, it's not just a US problem, it is a version 3 problem that the artillery section is
underused
there.
Right, which brings us to heavy weapons. Now, my last panel, they were all in agreement that the heavy weapon rifle teams was maybe the most interesting thing in the US heavy weapon platoon. How do you guys feel about this? Al, let's start with you.
Honestly, I haven't put any thought towards it. But I get what it is. It's like, because these are the guys that you can put in place of actual heavy weapons. So, instead of
it's a 3-man
machine
team,
guns and mortars, it's an infantry squad. What's the point? If you're going to take a heavy weapons platoon, you're taking it to get access to multiple mortars, multiple HMG teams. That's why you're doing it. Why would you even bother filling it out with more riflemen that you could easily
The short answer is you give them rangers and then have a 3-man veteran ranger team that moves up into the center of the ball grabbing objectives.
Or I've already got 3 veteran 3-man ranger teams that can also call into airstrikes.
Yeah, true.
I would also invest in a platoon or company commander, 3 or 4 men with ranger leads the way. Why would I bother buying a heavy weapons platoon to get more of these people? No, I believe your previous panel are misled, or they are misleading themselves.
I would 95% agree with Al there. The only 5% is it is possible you might run into some kind of tournament structure where getting access to additional infantry is useful, but that strikes me as pretty unlikely. So yeah, I'm with Al on this one. I don't see them as the interesting thing in the heavy weapons, but they are different. So again, at least they're adding something different.
It's great to be different, but you know, I don't need to try it. And what you were talking about tournament structure there is you're never going to see that. I don't believe you'll ever see a tournament that will limit infantry because.
Well, it's a tank game now, so yeah.
Well, no, that's it. There are more tanks in the game now, so tournament organisers and people that want to sort of hark back to things that were, they want more infantry in the game, so they will.
We're trying to encourage it.
Yeah, so tournament organisers are engineering their packs to make you bring more infantry, so you're not going to need any sort of secret backdoor options to get more infantry in. So, no.
Definitely the case. Yeah, definitely the case.
No.
Then what about the rest of the selection for the heavy weapons? Would you guys take fixed heavy machine guns, 3-man light mortar teams? What are you seeing?
I've used these a lot actually. What if I lead off from this one out because I've used them a lot?
Please. Yeah.
So on the heavy machine gun teams, I played an opponent who had, I think it's 60 points. Oh no, 70 points for a heavy machine gun, regular heavy machine gun unit. So a lot of points, but it's putting out 6 shots with a range of 48, and it can pin any vehicle and it can kill certain vehicles. And that scared me when I played him. I thought, wow, that's scary. And so I added a couple to a list that I took to the BritCon. I loved using them. And then you start playing with them and you're like, wait a minute, if I make this inexperienced, it's 49 points now. And statistically, when I fire it, I'll get 1 less hit with my HMG and I've saved 21 points. And also it's a target. They're quite scary. People will tend to try and shoot them, which means they're not shooting at your other stuff. So I actually quite like them. Oh, and they're not on pin tools. So if you do have your airstrike, your foos for your airstrikes, these synergize quite nicely because they're not going to shoot your planes out the air. So I quite like them. I've been playing with them all, and most armies aren't going to have access to them. That's the other thing. Most armies are not going to be built to deal with them. So I think they're quite interesting. So that's the HMGs. And then on the light mortars, I am not a fan of light mortars personally because they're too fragile. It has to see you to fire, and if you can see it, and it's particularly if it's inexperienced, it's dead in this game. So I think they're dangerous. You might be giving away dice for those. If you are going to take it, I'd want it 3-man. So I know your previous guys were complaining about that as if it's a tax. But if you look at the cover rules in the main rule book, if your opponent can see at least 50% of your force with at least 50% of theirs when they're looking around cover, you don't get cover. So a 2-man light mortar unit cannot get cover if it's trying to fire around the corner of a hedge or something. A 3-man can, because you can tuck 2 of them away. So for the extra 5 points, yes, please, I'll take a 3-man light mortar unit if I'm going to use one. And again, I know we're going on about Rangers, but Ranger light or medium mortars are quite funny because they can wander on before the start of the turn, so you get an extra round of fire from your mortar teams. So yeah, I quite like some of the stuff there. Bazookas are pretty good as well. They're vulnerable to a degree, but they're pretty good. I quite like the heavy weapons options, and I use them. I actually use them regularly.
What about you, Al? Do you like bazookas?
I do. Absolutely. I see them as being. You should have them in transports to get them that little bit closer as part of that snap to action combo. that should be there. HMG teams, yes, they've got merit. Not for me personally. I've played against them quite a bit when you can have these sort of overlapping lanes of fire. They can be quite effective. And again, when they can reach out with 6 shots, yep, again, they're quite good. But they're just at that magic number to get killed, which is 3 regulars. So if you pay veteran, then you're paying a premium. And if they're going to be veteran, you're going to invest 3 more points to make them whatever, Marine, Rangers, or other. You know, it's once you're at veteran, you might as well just chip in the 3 more points to get that team to get a special ability. So unless they're veteran, those HMG teams do tend to melt away quite quickly. 6 shots, hitting on 4, so you get 3 hits, 2 wounds, kill 1. That's what you've got. But it's a pin, and it's that vehicle threat as well at range. Long range, you can put a pin on an armored vehicle, which is But when people keep saying that pins don't matter, they are wrong, dead wrong. Pins
don't
do
listen to
matter
Alistair.
in this game. And it really frustrates me when you say that and your audience are listening to you.
I know. It's fun.
I've got a difference of opinion here.
Yeah.
And you are insistently saying pins don't matter. And this is, to throw a personal shot at you. If you to speak to your friend Michael Fish from World Open War,
true.
Ask him if pins mattered.
Yeah, true. They did. They did.
Yeah. And for all 6 of my opponents at World Open War, pins mattered. The number of pins I spat out as my opponents were crying that they were running out of pin markers because of the number of pins I was putting down on them. Pins matter. They really do. And that's why hopefully at the end of this sort of part of this segment, we'll talk about some of the list builds.
We will,
and I can show you why HMGs are important.
Right.
But no, so heavy weapons, yes, HMG teams have got merit. Light mortars do not have merit, and Ranger, medium, and heavy mortars do have merit simply because they can get on the board during a meeting engagement, and they're already on the board and can start firing turn 1 as your opponent is bringing their units on.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we will move on to units that you sort of think are meh. So what units would you not use in
everything
the
everything from the artillery section?
Yeah, I sort of got that from you, Al.
Ask me in a few weeks about rocket launchers. I'm going to mess around with them a bit with air observers and see if I can it's like kind of slice and dice or burn and kind of. Can you really burn out units with that approach? I'll let you know if it works. It might work, but people might end up hating me, so I might have to not do it. We'll see.
Ambulance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Landing craft.
Yeah, that picture. What you've got in that picture, so that they are my ones that I've painted up. Oh my god, I'm running them because they're thematic and they look wonderful on the table. But my god, are they bad? They've got these massive units. Some of them soft skinned, and you can't hide them.
I'm going to throw a controversial one in here, and one of my compatriots from Scotland, Johnny Ferg, will argue and prove me wrong at some point. Bazooka Jeep. Junk.
Wow.
Too expensive.
Yeah, it's too expensive.
It was God mode in version 2, according to some people, but okay.
But the great thing is, though, we're not talking about version 2.
Nah, true.
Version 3, so yeah, junk it. M8 Greyhound, junk it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
M21 mortar carrier, junk it. Any mortar carrier, just junk it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the open topped tank hunters, junk them.
That's so much of the book you're throwing out.
I'm not as
blasé as I am.
I'm not as radicalised as Al on that one. I think there might be something.
You're not drinking enough wine.
I'm not drinking enough. You're right, Al.
The M7 Priest. 170 points regular, 8+ open top light howitzer, junk it. There's just no point.
To be fair, one reason for junking a lot of this kit is because in the US list you've got other great options. Like if I'm a Japanese player, Horo is basically a priest.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Sometimes in a Japanese list, you're like, thank God I've got access to a Horo. If you gave me access to a priest, I'd be like, yeah. So it's more the play style of the Americans and their other options, which means this is stuff you don't need. I can't disagree with Al. Artillery observers. Who is ever going to take a US artillery
Never going to
observer?
take one.
You know, his point. Nope. You know, like medics for any army are generally speaking a waste of point. So again, a lot of these units.
Whoa! Don't be too radical here. Medics have got their place.
What the heck?
Okay. They have their Finnish Carcapaltia that are built into the unit, but.
Right.
But we all have views. One thing that said, so I think someone in your commentary was saying avoid Shermans. Don't get Shermans. I'm like, what? Really? Shermans are a meg unit? Not it's like Al's just explained earlier how you can turn 3 Shermans into a complete nightmare for your opponent.
Yep.
So I'm not certain I'd go along that. In the current meta, anything that's got armor 9 can be quite interesting. Because you are going to run into opponents who go, oh, I've only got pen +3 on my heavy water cannons. I haven't got anything else. And you're like, yeah, you're in big luck. You're in big trouble now. So that's worth it. But yeah, armored cars, agreed.
Okay.
Yep.
So
right.
Yeah.
Plenty of me.
Then let's move on and talk about builds. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. Right now, what I've seen is Al. You made the air power list. You were the first one I heard about that made the air power list. And then there was the Ranger Danger list where you have a whole army that just moves before everything else happens, right? We've seen mechanized Americans being run. Phil Brewer ran those at World Open War. We've seen skirmish Americans sort of going back to V2 with a lot of infantry with bars, hanging out in your own half of the board, shooting at range. We've seen MSU being tried, and in V3 that just melts, in my opinion. And we've even seen Death Stars being run as well. Alistair, your list with 3 Shermans is sort of a Death Star, right? But we've also seen people bring on the Pershing. So what do you think is a good American build, and what do you think doesn't work right now? Right.
Air power.
Yeah, air power. Russell, can you say something else than air power, please?
No. I will in a minute, but please, I know you did a video, Bo, about why you're not a fan of air power.
Yeah.
Me and Al, we've been playing around with this, and Al come up with the idea. I went off and did it in my area of the UK as well. Oh my goodness, even if it doesn't win, like I think Phil said, it's brilliant. 60% of the time, 100% of the time, it always works 60% of the time. There might be some truth to that, but with that said, it's so much fun to play. It's so thematic. So let Al talk you through that, and then maybe I can pick up 1 or 2 of the others.
Right.
At the start of the video, I talked about local metas, player skill, player knowledge.
Yeah.
You still need to be a skillful and knowledgeable player to make any of the list types you've got down there work. So when we're talking about air power, we're not saying every player can pick this up and just be a winner. No. That can't happen. In the same way that, well, we've done videos on how to counter air power, and there are players that, take flak. That seems to be a quick option, but a great example of it was that I lost a game against a player called Gary Morgan at the Scottish Nationals because he had flak. So none of the aircraft came in, and his flak was in the guise of a drilling and a Kugelblitz. That was enough.
Yeah.
The next game, I played another German player who had a drilling and 2 heavy autocannon artillery pieces, and he had a light autocannon artillery piece, so effectively more flak, and I absolutely devastated him because he didn't have the right. He wasn't experienced enough to know about placement and timing.
Yeah.
to do it. For me, the greatest thing about the air power list is the level of pins that you can put out. I've got many examples of it, but how many lists or list types can you say that can destroy a Panzer III as collateral damage while it was doing its other stuff? You know, at World Open War, I pinned out a Panzer III, which I never targeted with an airstrike. I never shot a gun at it, and I just knew it was there. And as the aircraft were crisscrossing each other, it accumulated 9 pins and was destroyed.
Wow.
How many other list types can do that?
None.
Other than, you know, a double artillery strike, but really they are not as efficient as an air power list. So truly, yeah.
On that pinning out hour as well, that is where I think those HMG teams actually synergize quite nicely with the foods. Because your opponent's on 7 pins from the airstrikes, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, it's now firing HMGs at me.
That was the point I was hoping to get to, that when you look at the air power army builds that I have, usually there's 2 or 3 HMGs, and there would be 2 Stuarts with light anti-tank guns. They're not there to kill enemy units, they're there to put the last pin on. The last pin on an armoured vehicle from long range to get it to 8, to get it to 9, to make it disappear.
Yeah.
Which comes back to your point, Al, about pins. Oh my God, if you're running an L power list, they matter.
They absolutely matter. And a nugget of knowledge for your audience here. Company commanders are they're a warm blanket that keeps your army moving. Against an air power list, that overconfidence actually penalizes you, because you believe, and rightly so, that if you've got a unit that's on 3 or 4 pins, you can effectively order them to
going,
activate, keep going. But then you've left a unit with 2 or 3 pins after it's activated for another wave of airstrikes, and that just feeds into what we want you to do. We want you to leave units with pins on them from previous turns, because we're going to stack a whole another set of pins on with an air power list. Use that nugget of knowledge as you will. But a company commander is great, but he's almost like a life jacket that you might not always want to have on. So your next one,
the Ranger Danger list.
Ranger list.
Take as many Rangers as you can and move them all before turn 1.
You have to have more of a theme than just Rangers. You have to pluck something else out of it.
Because it doesn't win on its own, right?
Well, you can move.
Can on some missions.
You can move and you can get to objectives quickly, but can you kill? That is the point. You know, if it's a kill point mission and you've just got lots of Ranger infantry, you won't lose, but you won't win. So it needs something else, like a Ranger list as your core theme, but you need to bolt on something else that's going to, you know, get you over the line or give you that flexibility.
You need something to kill the enemy units as well, which infantry don't really do. What I would say on that, though, is at the moment what we're seeing is vet infantry are very much in vogue. Well over 50% of the infantry I'm seeing at my tournaments are vet. People have decided they want vet infantry. And if you're going to take vet infantry, I would 100% then want to pay an extra point per man so I can move them, turn early and do stuff with them. It's a bit like fieldcraft. If you can take vets with fieldcraft, that's why Gebirgsjäger are so popular, because it's a great ability to have, and it's true of Rangers. But completely agree with Al. They need to be doing something else as well. They can go up, they can grab objectives early, but they're never going to need support, because if you leave them out there on their run, they will die eventually.
Then you've got mechanised, so that's when you've got your guys zipped up in half tracks or M3 scout cars. That's actually got merit, but what you're doing there is you need to use that force multiplier to get your bazooka teams on the field. The armoured infantry open up an extra bazooka slot every time. So your mechanised units or your mechanised army almost benefits from having multiple platoon commanders and a company commander. I think in my head, if you've got 3 half tracks, zipped up with multiple units inside, so that's 3 snap to action attacks, supported by light tanks, Stuarts. So yeah, mechanized. Yeah, I like mechanized. I don't run it for my Americans, but I do run it for Germany.
I've run it with Americans, and I love it. Like I said, you do the M2 M3 combination, and you flank them. The other thing really key, if you're going to run a mech list, it goes in the flanks for me, because even if your plans don't set up the way you want, you bring it in from the reserve area instead, so you can protect them. Also, by flanking, that gives your air reservers a couple of turns to bring stuff in and cause chaos.
Yeah.
And you can delay. It doesn't have to come in on turn 3. You can wait another turn, wait till turn 4. Even turn 5 can work if you grab an objective last minute. And the other thing I like is I've got a heavy machine gun strapped to my M2 or M3. I've just flanked in behind one of your tanks. I'm going to put 3 shots into it at point blank. And if that doesn't work, as Al said, don't worry about that, because I've now got a 7-man officer team, all with SMGs. They're going to jump out and deal with infantry, and there's a bazooka there to have a pop as well. So actually the mech units I think are beautiful, but they really, you want to be running them into flanks, I think, for them to be really effective.
Then we have the 1,000 cuts lists of the skirmishes, which would in V2 be like 6, 7 regular dudes with a BAR rifles sitting shooting at range, or the MSU where you would take smaller units. There was that 2-man veteran, I can't remember what they were called in V2, where you would just be shot by a gazillion different units in the American army and take like 8 pins a turn. These I'm not really seeing anymore. Are you in agreement with me?
Work.
Yeah, they've gone with V3, right?
They work with V2 because if you went down to 2 men, all of a sudden you get all these minuses to hit them, and you go down. Your opponent's looking for 6 and 6s. But the issue is, and Al mentioned cover saves. Cover saves are there, but they're very randomised outcomes.
Yeah.
Whereas when you had the old, it's a small target, at long range, 6 and 6, that's a much better position to be in. So these things now, they die too easily. That's my personal impression anyway. But
I have a similar mindset, because if you've got skirmishers or multiple small units, you just have to get within 6 inches of them. So you're +2 to hit. There's no down cover bonuses, and they just disappear. And that's why we've spoken disdainfully of light mortars. They're that sort of MSU left, hangover that people are just desperate to try and get an order dice to help boost their other, their other parts of their army.
Don't take it too personally, Bo.
I'm not. I'm still bringing them. Doesn't matter what you say.
Yeah, well, the great thing about myself and Russell here is we're drinking a lot of red wine. You're drinking
water,
some sort of root juice.
Well, look, we think it's water, but he's Danish.
Yeah, he's not having as good a time as we are.
Nah. And obviously you guys are not runners of Death Stars as such, but Al, your list of having 3 Shermans is pretty Death Starry, isn't it?
Yep, 100%.
Yep.
And the thing about, I always enjoy hearing the word Death Star from yourself and on your channel. The thing with the Death Star though is it's not a wonder weapon that can one-shot and destroy other armies. It's actually something different. It's more like it's how hard it is to kill it.
Yeah.
Whereas
Soaks
the
up
Death
the
Star
damage,
quite easily. The Death Star itself is very easily destroyed twice. But it's how hard it is to kill these units.
Yeah.
So I've talked about the veteran Shermans. And as soon as it goes up to that level of veterancy, it gets the gyro stabilizer, but it also means that all these low-end weapons just become irrelevant. And what it also means, though, is if your opponents do take these low-end weapons, as I designate them now, light autocannons, they are trying to get into the side and rear of your tank, which then exposes them to extra danger from your support units. So you should have, a bazooka team run, and I had a bazooka team that ran up behind these 3 Shermans. So as soon as something came round the corner to try and catch them off guard, they then themselves were caught off guard by a good weapon. So no, for America, the Death Star lists do work, and we've also seen that by Ben Andrews when he ran twin veteran Pershings. Yeah, how much more Death Star can you get? So yeah, US Death Star is 100% viable. Maybe not as a tournament.
Is it the gyro stabilizer that makes it more viable than, say, for Brits?
It's the combination. It's the combination, though, that the veterans, you take the veterancy to eliminate the pin generation from your opponent. Because one of the great habits is firing a light autocannon on HE mode to cause you D2 pins. Get rid of that by being a veteran tank. The gyro stabilizer, it's the bonus. It's the little cherry on top that makes it. It makes that. It encourages you to move more, which is what the American builds that I enjoy are all about. They're about movement. I hate whenever I play using any sort of American list. I hate seeing my own units in my own deployment zone at the end of the game because why are they still there?
Yeah.
Why are they there? Hold backline holders. If you've moved forward and wiped out your opponent, who cares about your backline? Big talk.
What about you, Russell?
I think you've got another 2 lists missing there. So
I may have. Bring him.
So I would say there's the Texas barbecue.
Right.
So for the Americans, their flamethrowers are not as good as the Germans. So I get if you're a competitive player, you're going to go, I'm going to get 9 tossed lanners there, and I'm going to burn everything, and because it's a better option.
Yeah.
But the Americans, they don't have their double US Marine Assault option yet, 2 flamethrowers. I suspect we're going to see that come back at some point. They've got good armoured cars. If you want to load your US engineers into them with support, you can do that. And the Americans do have access to quite a few flame vehicles. So I'm not a huge fan of flame because it's been made less reliable by the new rules, which I think was a good thing. But people are very successfully using flame lists. The Americans do have that as an option. There are people out there who've done it. And so, kind of like watch this space. That's something. If you want flame at the moment, you go Germany. But the Americans do have options there. And the other one that's missing for me is, I call it like the Sons of Anarchy list, which is where you can take loads of light American soft-skin vehicles with HMGs. Yeah. And so if I really want, if I'm at a tournament where I can take 2 armoured platoons, I can take 10 recce jeeps for what? 570 points? Because 2 of them got to be command vehicles. That's 10 recce jeeps with HMJs for like half my list cost. 10 dice, and I've only spent half my points. And I don't really care if I lose a couple because they're just running around everywhere, just causing absolute mayhem. And if that's not enough HMGs, I can load in more HMGs on my transports. The armoured transports have got forward-facing HMGs, and that's actually significant. Yeah. I'd actually pay more for a forward-facing one than a 360 Pinter one because it means I can synergize it with my airstrikes.
You avoid the flak.
I know when my airstrike's coming in, it doesn't take a lot of skill to make sure I'm not pointing in that direction when it arrives, so you can synergize more easily. So I would say that's the other thing. It's the Texas barbecue, which is coming.
And the Sons of Anarchy. I like that name for it.
Machine gun, Sons of Anarchy. Let's just shoot everything up. That's a list that you're going to start seeing, I think, a lot because it works. So
brilliant. Right. Which sort of brings us to the end. Thank you so much for participating. Was there anything that you sort of missed out on here that you felt like we didn't get to talk about? Now's the time.
Loads.
So basically the conclusion today was that the last panel didn't know the US book at all, and you guys are right. Is that it?
Bonus. No.
What I would say is that as the version 3 books are coming out, we can see that their power levels are trying to be closer together.
Yeah.
So it's the small points of difference that are separating these different lists, these different armies out from just being the same but in a different uniform. The gyro stabilizer and the air power for me are those two key points. And both myself and Russell have talked privately. It's like we are still completely stunned at the lack of flak in the majority of people's lists. I am still stunned that you yourself, Bo, do not rate air power as a weapon. It just baffles me when you stood right beside me as I took apart one of the best players from Denmark.
There's a difference. I rate you as an air power player. I don't rate the list as such, and I there are ways around it still.
I'm glad you got rated, Al, not me.
You're right. You are right. But
there are hard stops to that list, but you've got to invest to do it. And what's happening is because no one's running air lists other than a couple of us, no one needs to do hard stops. It's not something you need to consider to win a tournament. But you know what? If people latch on, it will become something you need to do. And then maybe the list will disappear at that point, which is the nature of meta, isn't it?
Maybe.
If everyone's bringing so if everyone's bringing a Tokarov and hiding it behind a building, then there will be a point where me and Al have to go, you know what, it's not working anymore. But in the meantime, we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But in an overarching comment, the US Army book is competitive.
It's good.
Very. I wouldn't dismiss it at all. And if you're thinking about starting the US Army, myself and Russell, look, we do lean very heavily to the aircraft, but there are other builds that can be explored with the US. Ones we've not talked about is just the mass infantry horde you can do.
Yes.
Just put the rifles on the ground and combine them with bazookas. So the great thing about the armored rifle platoons in version 3 is you don't actually have to buy them a transport. You did in the past in version 2, they had to come with their own transport, whereas now you can buy armored rifle platoons, open up more access to more bazookas, and then just march forward. Rifles firing, bazookas ready for the tanks when they come at you. There's other builds that can be done. So
definitely, we mentioned very briefly at the beginning on the infantry horde idea, because everyone think, Americans, it's I think David Hasselfeld in your chat was saying they're a vet army.
Yeah.
And they can be, but they can also be irregular, and they can also be inexperienced. And the inexperienced angle that Al's touching on there is, I can take a full unit of Americans, 12 man, so they get the re-roll for coming in, of missing orders, and there's 12 of them, so they get, as I said earlier, they're getting 16 shots, and they're 84 points. That sounds pretty good to me. Good luck getting them off the table. If I decide I don't want you to remove them from the table, you've got to remove 12 bodies. I'll get my cousin and just sit there. I'd rather have 12 inexperienced guys who can't hit a barn, the back of a barn with their rifles with 16 shots, and pay the same for eight regulars and one SMG. I'd rather have 12 guys with 16 shots. So no one's running that, or I haven't seen it. So people are saying, well, go and test it. Go and find out if American inexperienced hordes work, because I suspect it probably will. And regulars being overlooked as well. Particularly the HQ, the concept of the HQ, where you can load it up with SMGs and go, hi guys, 14 shots at point blank out of my vehicle. Oh look, I passed my order test to flank. There's loads of things we can still do with them.
The book has got more to yield to the community.
Yes.
And I think, a failing for myself is I have stopped at the 2 builds because I think they're just brilliant. I love them. I love rolling out the planes. I love rolling out the veteran tanks and the Rangers. So I've stopped my own evolution with the US book, which I'm disappointed in myself. But it's for others to pick up.
No, have fun with
pick up where we left off.
And on that positive encouragement to you guys at home, I think we'll end it there. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Go and play Americans. A lot of people complaining about them. I think one of the issues they complain about them is they're mono players. They only play Americans. And then, I want this, I want that. I wish I could do that. I tell you what, if you played lots of other countries and you come back to the Americans, you go, you know what, actually, I'm so glad I'm an American player. Because it's pretty barren out there at the moment for some of our options. They're much better than people are realising, because everyone always thinks that the grass is green on the other side of the fence. Yeah? If you think Americans are not good, go and play some minor nations, go and play like other armies, and then tell me they're no good.
Stay Second Amendment, people.
Second Amendment. Right, that's it. Cheers.